Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the things I've been working on this week, as well as show you some of the books that I've been going through. At the end, I might even talk a little bit about some of the materials I've been playing around with and share those with you. This book is kind of a new project, something I've been thinking about doing for a while, where I go through some of my old magazines and books that may have a couple pictures or paintings in them that I really like, but the rest of the book is just stuff that's either ads or um, art that I don't really like. Basically, just like slimming down my collection a little bit and really just trying to dial in on the stuff that I really like. And it's been pretty fun going through everything again and rediscovering some of the artists. I think so. Like, I'm including some things like cars and random portrait photography and things like that, and I'm intentionally trying to mix things up. Because I have some of her on this page, and I have, you know, a little bit more further on. I think, and the idea for me is like uh, to kind of give myself a little bit of whiplash when I'm looking through it, because when something's fresh, it's different. Like you want it's like a cold glass of water on a hot day. You don't want to have cold water on a cold day. So it's like with these different styles and everything like that. I tried to mix it up so it's like you get something like this where it's abstract, and then you have something with more realism. You get some car design, you get some photography, maybe some weird statues, and it each thing I think seems more different when it's put against something that's you know different. So I remember this guy Matt Colley. He had a the whole collection in a magazine. He was featured artist, and I think if I remember correctly, I really liked the way his rendering was with his painting, but it had a look, and I think it was intentional, of being from like a distortion from a lens. And to be honest, like digital tools or cameras and those sorts of things are cool, but I don't really. It kind of makes me a little uncomfortable when art gets too connected to those mechanisms. Um, I think the more I paint and the more I try to figure out what my taste is, I guess, with art, the more I prefer paintings to look like paintings and photos to look like photos. Okay, these ones, I think there's something really amazing about these cityscapes. I think these were done, I want to say acrylic, I'm not sure, but the depth, and it really feels like something where you're floating up in the sky and you can really just enjoy the view. And that's something I don't really understand. I'm not very good at establishing the depth in such a smooth way where there's really not much definition back here, but it feels like there is. And you can even see like the texture of the canvas in the photo. So it's it's stylized, like it's painterly, but at the same time it's at a glance it looks like a photo. But when you look at it, you can tell like a little bit of dry brush. It's not perfect, like photo perfect, which is I think a good thing. this guy, Jamie O'Neill. I've always been a fan of good graffiti. I think there's something really cool about that. I have more of this stuff here. Crushed train car. See, all of these things are completely unrelated. Some classic, I think this is probably an etching, ink illustration, sculpture, photo, portrait. They're all unrelated, but at the same time, I think they're all related. Here we have some nice landscapes. Man, the glue I was using really did a number on these magazine paper. So it's a little wrinkly, but this is Brian Lasaga. I'm not sure who did the other ones here, but just the colors, the light, very, very nice. Here's some more stuff. This is one that kind of stuck with me. I remember this one pretty vividly, and I don't know. I did put it in the book. I mean, not everything is just like my favorite thing ever, but like, I like the puddle and the graffiti on the wall. But I think it's approaching a little bit of that camera effect that I was talking about earlier, where, you know, like photorealism is cool and all, but it doesn't. I feel like not as much is being said with the brush. This one I really like. Under a bridge, some washed up leaves and grass and mud and a little bit of trash. Nice reflection, the light. I walk on a trail sometimes near my house that has similar scenes, and I don't know if I could paint it this well. I really like that. This was out of a book, and they obviously, this is how they printed the page. You have basically the same idea, a dude standing, but from completely different cultures and eras. And I think it's kind of interesting just to have these side by sides where you can just think about the bodies were likely very similar, but the way they were executed was completely different. What were they trying to communicate? You know, what tools were they using? But this one has so much more natural gesture and form. This one's, you know, rigid. I think if I was gonna have one, like say if I had like a place to have statues, I'd pick this one, even though this one is, I think, technically more advanced. This one has that human feel to it, you know. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of something you might see in an old temple or something. I'm not sure the legend behind this one, but it might be the Valley of the Dry Bones coming back to life. It might be a version that's like a Muslim version of the same story or something, but either way, it looks like dead people coming back to life. That's always a story that I really liked for some reason. I think the imagery in my head. Here we go. Look at this. These super detailed drawings. I clipped a bunch of these in this book. This guy, I have his name written down somewhere, but I think it's like Micron pen. and I'm guessing ink or watercolor wash. But holy cow. I think, if I remember correctly, he would try to do like a 4-inch square a day or something. And he'd spend years working on it. And to me, I think I'd get like a few days in, and I think he did this like a full-time job too. But I'd be like, man, like, is it worth it? I don't know if I would ever get to this point, because I'd be thinking, you know, how much am I communicating with a day's work? Like, so you spend a whole day working on, like a small section of this, and then hang it up, you do the whole thing, and then you hang it up in your gallery or your show, and then you watch people walk up, and it could be different for this guy, but I feel like I've watched people in galleries, and they'll look at it, but you're lucky if they look at it for more than a glance. Like, if somebody stands here for 30 seconds and looks at this, I think you're doing pretty good. And it's just the way people are, man. But it kind of, when you see the way people look at art, you're like, maybe, for me, it's like, maybe put more effort in getting that initial, when you look at it, you get that impression really strong. And I don't know. But on the other hand, it's like, maybe it's not too bad to try to make people work a little bit more, like the viewers. This is just an old painting. I'm not sure about it. I mean, I think almost every era of art. I think there's something to it, especially, like, look at this. Like, to me, so I apologize, but I don't research every picture I see. I just like it, I just like looking at it. And this one is one where it feels like it's a bridge between, like, accurate perspective, like, more modern art, and like medieval. Like, it has kind of that medieval feel to me, which I really like. It's like, who knows where the artist was drawing when he came up with this composition, but I think there's a good chance that the he was on the ground looking at stuff, and he fabricated this viewpoint, and he put this horizon in just because he wanted to look that way, and it really draws you in, I think. Here's some more clips from car magazines. This guy's eyes here, man. They should put some real piercing eyes in statues more, I think. Kind of creepy. Here we go. Here's another mix. I think this is like a contemporary artist, I'm pretty sure. But, the brushwork, man, it really does remind me of Sargent. So, I think maybe they were a fan, too. So, yeah, it looks so much like, it could very well be Impressionist era artists. Medieval art. There's something about it. Like, medieval art and Byzantine art, I think some people kind of think not very much of it because of mistakes with, say, proportion or perspective or whatever, but I think there's a lot to be said for taking big liberties with, the science of art for the sake of what you're trying to communicate. I think the communication is key. These two drawings I really like. These ones I've been looking at a lot, actually, the last couple days, because it's just black and white, This one, I think, is just I would guess it's just ink, but it has so much depth. And actually, I'll show you. I'll take a break to show you. I was working on a map. Here, this is one sketch I was working on, and I think I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, actually, because I was really looking at how they drew the city map, and it's all just basically shadows of 3D forms, and how much you can read from that. You can tell where the rivers and the bridges and the structures are, and different types of landscapes. So I was doing a little bit of that, a little bit rushed, and at the same time, I got this new book, Framed Environment Design. I have all the framed books now. This one came out in December of last year, and it kind of went under my radar. And I'm not quite all the way through it. I've been kind of studying my way through it, but this guy is crazy. But here's what I was reading through when I drew the map. He's trying to design an environment for a story, and he lays everything out on the map. That's the first step. So here I have fabricated a location where it's all kind of compressed, so it's not super realistic as far as like how things would be laid out. But for a comic book, I don't think it matters. It just needs to be consistent. So I have like the secondary character's house. The main character drives up this way. They walk down this way through the park. I can tell you the story later. It would take a while, but basically I map out all the locations so that, and even the camera angles, so that when I'm drawing it, everything will make sense and be consistent. I'm going to do also with the house, playing around with different lighting and weather effects. Okay, making a floor plan, I'm not sure if this is realistic or not, but basically just mapping it out on a sketchbook. That way when I'm drawing the comic, I can put in props and everything frame to frame is going to look the same. Yeah, but basically between this book and this book, I've been really going. I'll just show you. I was sketching this morning too. This pen, I'll take an even further tangent to show you. I ran out of black ink for this parallel pen, and it came with a red cartridge, and I was like, man, I don't want to draw with red ink. But, I'm still waiting on my refill to come, so I was like, well, I'll play around with it. And it is pretty awesome, because it comes out looking almost black, right? So if you just do like line art or whatever, this is all the red ink. It comes out really, it's very flowy, so I'm sure I'll run through it real fast. But then you can take like a water brush and get this ink wash effect really easily. So that's this morning. I was just playing around. And for example, this guy, all I did was, I have these little scribbles down here, and I made a little square here where I was dumping some ink. It comes out so fast that, for example, this one, I didn't even put the pen down over here. I just picked up some ink with the water brush and did that. And, it's nothing too crazy to look at, but I feel like there's a lot of potential there, because that ink wash look can be really good, if the right person's doing it. But for me, I think the way I learned how to do it was using indie ink and diluted. a lot of setup. But this way, you can put these two things in your pocket so easily. Get some nice tonal values just by sketching. So the refill is going to come. I'll probably be doing more ink wash stuff in my sketchbook just for fun. But anyway, that all kind of got sparked between getting this book in the mail and, you know, trying to read through it, as well as looking through some of these maps and just kind of blown away. Speaking of maps, here's some. Every building is unique, and I suspect they existed at some point. I don't know if that's true or not, but what are the odds that whoever this was living in this city walked the streets and made little simplified drawings of the medieval buildings that he passed by? And I think if you wanted to draw, sorry, baby was having a little bit of trouble with the bottle, but she's all good. I think if you were gonna draw if you wanted to draw a more accurate perspective drawing of this city, you could look closely at these buildings and populate a perspective view of any of these locations. Like you could plop yourself down here, looking down this way, have the castle in the back, have these buildings lining the streets. I think you could use this and kind of really put yourself into this time. Same with these. I think even though it's very I don't know the word for it, but it's very simplified and it's not accurate at all with perspective or anything, I think you can really imagine being there. It's very decorative, I think, too. I've included also, as we go in here, more photos. I see this, it's all just grays and pale green, like nighttime. And composition is really interesting and eerie. But, yeah, I don't know. I like that. Got some Etcher. More of this guy. Here's his name. Akira Manabu. Very good. And then we'll go with some ducks. Okay. This is just a map of Vietnam. So, showing the history of the region. I think, I think it is art still. Maps. They're drawings. And they're communication. Visual communication. And I think there's nothing better than a good map. Look at that. Nice night scene. I was using the Elmer's glue at the beginning, and I was having problems with it wrinkling the pages, and then I tried a little bit in the middle to use a spray fixative, and I mean, I don't really like using the aerosolized spray too much because it gets everywhere. And this one I was using two-way glue stick, and it's not really enough to hold these in place, so I might have to keep looking. This type of painting is one of my favorite types of paintings. It's called, I think, a genre painting, and basically just showing ordinary life, scenes from, peasants or whatever. And I think it'd be really fun to do like a modern day version of the same thing. You could choose like just like a park or this or that, and just kind of show people doing what they do. Here we got some more of these guys. I think this came from a section of the book that was mainly talking about rhinoceroses in art. From the early days when they were they looked like unicorns basically, to like realism to like abstraction. Pretty cool looking animal. This photo I really like. You see these couple kids peeking out down there. It feels like you're in a European village, just walking. Look at that. How's that for a field trip? Kids playing up in these ancient houses carved into stone. I honestly, I could probably Google it, but I don't even know where this is. It looks like an alien planet to me. Very cool. I like seeing stuff like that. Okay. More houses in cliff sides. I think this one isn't in my head related. But here's some office buildings that are, to me, I'm not sure if they are, but it seems like they're underground. So it's like a modern day version of this, basically. People get all holed up in their office buildings. Yeah, that's all I have so far. I have a lot more magazines and books I'm going to go through. And the binding on this is already suffering, and it's going to get a lot worse. But I'm going to destroy this book. It might have to get tied together with rope at the end. But I've spent some time working on that. I already showed you basically all the sketches I've done this week. Not a whole lot since I've been working. This book, haven't finished reading it, but I'm going through it real slow. I'm going to go back through all the other framed books too after I'm done with this. It's so dense with information. I don't know how this guy does it, but very good. Here's a book that I've had for a month or two. It feels like the techniques that are in this book is like unlocking something that I've been looking for a long time. I think when I was like learning about how like Drew Struzan, Ariel Olivetti, and some of those other guys painted, it's like, okay, so you can use, like, how can you use colored pencil on acrylic paint, because I couldn't figure it out for the longest time because it wouldn't stick. You start learning some of those tricks, and then you get a book like this, and this is, I think, for architects, but I've been experimenting with some of these things, not to the same degree of success, but let me just show you a couple techniques that really stuck out to me. Okay, he shows marker techniques. This is one I haven't tried yet. Trying to get foliage to look right on my drawings is always something I have a hard time with. Bear with me for 1 second. Look at that map. That's pretty nice. It's just so precise. Okay. He does, yeah, I'll show you some examples, but this is like really helpful for he shows you how to get different textures when you're rendering and make everything look super sharp, and it makes me just it's like it's simple, right? Markers and pens and tracing paper, it's all common materials, but the way they're used seems obvious. It seems like it should be obvious, but like, I don't know, I think I needed someone to tell me. Here's an example of something that kind of blew my mind. That floor looks, to me, very good. Looks like a wood, you know, like a light wooden floor. And all it is horizontal marks with marker, a little bit of shading, and a little bit of tonal, some lines and stuff with like Prismacolor. Highlight, that's just a white Prismacolor. And it looks shiny, it looks accurate. I haven't been able to reproduce that yet. I think my markers are too saturated. They don't blend together very good. Okay, here we are. This is the part that really blew my mind. This drawing here is amazing to me, and when I see a drawing like that, I'm like, oh, it's probably like 3 or 4 times as big, and they shrunk it down so it looks good. But then you see his hand sticking in there, and you realize that this drawing is about, maybe it's a little smaller, but it's about 1-for-1, it seems like. And it's just so crazy. And they did it on transparent paper with the ink on one side, colored on the back, so when it flips over you have that smoothed out color tone. And then the perk of drawing it on transparent paper is here it is. This is a different drawing obviously, but like, you can put toned paper behind it and completely change the mood of the drawing. So to me, this was like crazy, because it's like if you're using Photoshop or Clip Studio, it's like having a multiply or a hard light layer or something over your drawing where you completely like adjust all the colors. But 3 different types of tone paper. You have an evening, nighttime, maybe a morning, maybe midday. Just by putting a piece of paper behind it, and it looks amazing. So this book, I bought it used at Powell's. Very good. I think that's all I'm gonna show you today. There's some other stuff I've been going through as well, but maybe I'll give you an update when I've done my weekly drawing. Anyway, if you've watched this, thank you. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.